Everybody loves a picnic. Some of you have family reunions this summer you're really looking forward to. Others of you have family reunions you're not so looking forward to. But most of you, after more than a year away from each other, you're ready to see your family. You rent a pavilion at a park, play games, but mostly what you do, you eat. Everyone brings a food for a big picnic lunch. You sit down at picnic tables and depending on your family tradition, you eat hamburgers. It's cruel to do that right before lunch, isn't it? Or hot dogs. I eat one hot dog a year because I think they're unhealthy. They taste great, they're just unhealthy. So I only eat one a year. I've not eaten my hot dog for this year yet. Don't bring me one, I'm not gonna eat yours. But I will. Baked beans, chips, cookies, brownies with icing, fruit salad, potato salad, pasta salad. I don't know why people bring salads to picnics. I mean, if it's got the word salad behind it, it's just not very good. You hear they're building a new restaurant in the Target parking lot called Chicken Salad Chick. And so I was curious, so I went online to look at their menu. You know what they serve? Chicken salad. Just chicken salad, lots of different chicken salads. You have my word, I will never eat there. Not once. I don't know why you'd want to eat that. You either eat chicken or you eat salad. You don't eat chicken salad. That's just nastiness on a plate. Sorry. Apparently I've got some emotion about that. People bring deviled eggs. Why do people bring deviled eggs to picnics and potlucks? Can't stand them. There's always somebody who come up to me and say, well, you need to try my deviled eggs. I'm not trying them. They're nasty, just like everybody else's. Who decided deviled anything was a good option? Come on, I'm a follower of Jesus. I don't eat deviled stuff. Hate those. Ugh. I think what it is egg salad on a egg. Just nasty. And please don't do it. You're smart aleck, especially this group. I know next week you're going to bring me a bunch of deviled eggs. I'm going to look at you, and when you hand them to me, I'm going straight to the trash can and throwing them in it. I'm not going to eat your deviled eggs. The devil's in those eggs, I'll tell you that. Today we look at the story of two picnic lunches in the Bible. Just one problem, no one brought food. It's a big crowd, but no brownies with icing, no watermelon, no hamburgers, no fried chicken, no sweet tea. Let me set the stage. Jesus and his disciples had become well known. Miracles were happening. People delivered, healed, set free. Jesus was teaching incredible truths. Everywhere they went, crowds gathered, and the crowds got bigger and bigger. And finally, Jesus and the disciples decided they needed to rest. And so they got in a boat and they just kind of went along the shoreline looking for a quiet place to stop. The problem was the crowd saw them. So as they were in the boat, the crowd was running ahead on the shore. And as they went through towns and villages, they were saying, come on, you got to see and hear Jesus. And so the crowd just kept growing. And finally, when Jesus landed and saw the large crowd, he had compassion on them because they were like sheep without a shepherd. It was a big crowd. There were 5,000 men, so there were probably 5,000 women as well, and children, maybe as many as 15,000 people in all. That's about half the population of Sherwood, or slightly more than the entire population of Hot Springs Village. 15,000 people would fill Dickey Stevens Park twice, including the berm. It was a lot of people. Jesus didn't see the crowd as irritating interruptions, but as needy people. He saw they were like sheep without a shepherd, so he began teaching them many things. By this time, it was late in the day, so his disciples came to him. This is a remote place, they said, and it's already very late. That was good teaching, Jesus. They were saying, but you said enough for now. It's time to quit for the evening. It takes guts to tell Jesus it's time to quit. The disciples even came up with a plan. It's late. send the people away so they can go to the surrounding countryside and villages and buy themselves something to eat. Like Jesus, the disciples saw the crowd. Seeing the crowd isn't very hard. Most of us can do that part. The disciples not only saw the crowd, they took the next step. They realized the need. People were hungry. They saw the crowd. They realized the need, but they didn't feel compassion towards the people. Instead, they felt overwhelmed. There was no way they could possibly feed all those people. And because they felt overwhelmed, rather than feeling compassion, their solution was just get rid of them, send them home. Maybe you felt that way. You see an overwhelming need and you look at what you have and you say, since I'm powerless to fix this, I just don't want to be around this anymore. You hear me talk about child hunger in Arkansas, or you see infomercial with hungry kids. But the need is so overwhelming that you quickly change channels or you tune me out. I just got to get distance between myself and this need because it hurts. I just can't do anything. It's painful. It's frustrating. That's the typical response when you see a need that's bigger than your resources. The disciples said, send them away. And Jesus answered, I got a better idea. You give them something to eat. The emphasis is on you. Don't send them away. You observe the need. You realize the need. Now it's up to you to do something about it. Not to assign it to someone else, but you give them something to eat. And they said to him, we can't do that. That would take 8 months of a man's wages. Are we to go spend that much on bread and give it to them to eat? Even if we could afford it, which, by the way, we can't. Where are we going to find that much food on this short notice? How are we supposed to give them something to eat? And Jesus, again, answered with a question. How many loaves do you have? It's a key question in the story. I know the need's overwhelming. I know you don't feel qualified or able to make a difference. But what do you have? God's church has been built on this pattern. Seeing needs and reaching out to fill them with a total dependence on God. This church exists because 109 years ago, an African-American woman who received the baptism of the Holy Spirit saw a need for a spirit-filled church in North Little Rock. She gathered people together who wanted the same thing, and First NLR was born. They didn't have a pastor. They didn't have any money. They didn't have a decent building. They met in a broken down building called the Sheep Shed. That's been our story all along. From Mary Lewis and the Sheep Shed to Pastor Jay Martin seeing a need in the inner city and going out with a basketball just to see what God would do. The story of First NLR is one of saying yes when the need's there. You can look around our church and you can see example after example. Solo, our ministry to single moms. It's there because somebody saw a need. Celebrate Recovery. Somebody saw a need. Cool Kids for special needs kids. Somebody saw a need and said, I think I can do something. Homeless ministry. Our security ministry started because some law enforcement guys in our church said, we see a need and we think we can fill it. I could list dozens of other ministries that started because someone saw a need. God's kingdom moves forward when God's people open their eyes, see the needs around them, and say, use me, Lord. How many loaves do you have? He asked. Go see. It must have been an amazing scene as the disciples went through the huge crowd looking for food. John chapter 6 tells more of this story. Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, spoke up. Here's a boy with 5 small barley loaves and 2 small fish. And I wonder, did that boy volunteer his lunch? Did the disciples have to talk him into it? Did they threaten him or bribe him? How did the lunch get from that little boy's hands to the disciples' hands? It's a blessing to grow up in church, but this is one story you're better off if you didn't, because the version as you saw as a kid messed this story up. The pictures in your Sunday school coloring sheets depicted this story in a really inaccurate way. He was a typical little boy with a massive lunch. The loaves were huge loaves like French bread. The 2 fish looked like huge trophy marlin somebody took down from above their mantle. That's the picture we got of this story growing up. This little boy brought 2 trophy fish and gigantic loaves of bread, so much he needed a cart or a wagon to pull the food as he went along behind Jesus. Jesus was going to have to feed a lot of people. So the coloring sheet illustrators helped Jesus out by giving him massive amounts. But it was going to take a miracle anyway. So we might as well get it right. This is one little boy's lunch. These were most likely 5 little barley loaves, 1 or 2 bites each, a little bit smaller than a biscuit. The fish were probably like sardines. Remember, there was no refrigeration then. They were smoked in salt and cured, and they were awful. Come on, you've had sardines. You've smelled sardines. It's bad. I think that's why this little boy still had his lunch, because it was bad food. His lunch was the biblical equivalent of a McDonald's Happy Meal. Just a little bit, enough for a kid. And for some reason, the little boy still had his lunch. Maybe he didn't like it. That's what I think. Maybe he wasn't hungry, but he had 5 loaves and 2 fish. When you see a need, especially when the need's massive, your response is often the same as the original followers of Jesus. You look at the size of the need, then you look at what you have, and you come up short. You say, well, this need's too big for what I have. I can't make a difference. I don't have what it takes. It's just overwhelming. Jesus says, stop telling me what you don't have. Tell me what you do have. What's in your lunchbox? What have you got? In June of 2020, the pandemic offered an unheard of opportunity to rescue women and children from sex slavery in India. Business had dramatically slowed because of COVID restrictions. Brothels were releasing women to go back to their villages, but they needed health care and job training and a place to live. The need was enormous. There was no way any of us could take care of them all. There were thousands of women, but you opened up your lunchbox. And you said, Lord, I'll give you what I have. And together, we provided a future for over 250 of those women. And one day, you gave over $350,000. During the last school year, we gave 16,848 meals to kids who needed food. Now, did that solve child hunger in Arkansas? No. But 16,848 times a kid who was hungry got to eat. We spend way too much time looking at other people's lunch boxes. I listen to a great preacher. I think, man, I sure wish I could talk like that. I'll never measure up. You say, I'm not much of a teacher. I'm not good at it at all. I'm a good listener, but I'm a terrible talker. And Jesus says, what was that? You're a good listener? How about ministering to shut-ins or people in nursing homes where they don't care if you can talk. They just like you to listen. There you go. You got it. You just discovered there's something in your lunchbox God can use. Somebody else says, well, I'm not really a people person. I like working with computers and technical stuff. Do you have any idea how many people work behind the scenes to make each service happen? There are people running lights and lyrics. There are people in the sound booth. There are people running cameras. There are people running remote cameras. There are people in the audio for online room. There's people in the online room. There's people in the production room. There's a whole lot of people who have that gift mix. You just found something in your lunchbox you can use. There are people driving shuttles and making coffee and greeting. I could go on and on. Those people probably don't want to be in front of a crowd or have the mic. They just, at some point along the way, said, Lord, here's what I have. Could you use this? That's the feel of this passage. Jesus said, how many loaves do you have? Look in your lunchbox. Let's see what's there. Your resources will never be enough to meet all the needs. Jesus wants you to offer what you have. The disciples had to wonder if the little boy's lunch would make a difference. Regardless, Andrew brought it to Jesus, and Jesus did something amazing. Jesus directed them to have all the people sit down in groups and on the green grass. They sat down in groups of hundreds and fifties. Jesus said, get them all seated, organize them. We're going to serve a meal. Hey, wait a second, Jesus. We want you to remember, We just have a happy meal. And there are thousands of people here. Let's come up with the food, then let's seat the people. You're getting our hopes up. Taking the 5 loaves and the 2 fish and looking up to heaven, Jesus gave thanks and he broke the loaves. Then he gave them to his disciples to set before the people. He also divided the 2 fish among them all, and they all ate and were satisfied. Jesus took the little boy's lunch, he blessed it, and he multiplied it, and then they fed all the people. Somewhere between 10 and 15,000 people ate from one little lunch. And the disciples picked up 12 basketfuls of broken pieces of bread and fish. The number of the men who had eaten was 5,000. Now, one person we haven't talked about is a little boy. Regardless of how enthusiastic he was about giving away his lunch, he did it. He responded generously when someone came to him and said, Jesus needs your lunch. Maybe he thought Jesus was hungry, and so he gave his lunch to him. We don't know. The point is, the little boy gave all he had. Despite everyone else being overwhelmed by the need, one little boy said, well, it's not much, but if Jesus wants it, he can have it. And when he gave the little bit he had to Jesus, it was the seed for a miracle. My question for you is, what's in your lunchbox? I'm not asking about the size of the need. I'm asking, what do you have to give? What are you willing to do? Maybe you're not sure what's in your lunchbox. It could be useful. Stop by the guest center before any weekend service. Our ministry match team will help you find a ministry where you can use your gifts. Let me ask the question another way. What have you been keeping because the need seems too overwhelming? Time? Money? Energy? Talent? Passion? Love? Jesus says, what have you got? Let's see if I can use that. Are you willing to give what you have? Do it and watch Jesus multiply it in amazing ways for the kingdom. And a short time later, a similar need presented itself. This story is found in Mark 8. During those days, another large crowd gathered. Since they had nothing to eat, Jesus called his disciples to them and said, I have compassion for the people. Again, they've already been with me 3 days and have nothing to eat. If I send them home hungry, they'll collapse on the way because some of them come a long distance. Big crowd, big overwhelming need. Same disciples, same Jesus. His disciples answered, but where in this remote place can anyone get enough bread to feed these people? What? Do they not remember what happened just a little while ago? They asked the same question and Jesus responded the same way. How many loaves do you have? And this time the answer was different. We got 7, they said. We brought 7 little loaves with us. But they got something, which you just think, all right, they didn't bring enough for the whole crowd. At least they brought something. They were not going to be empty-handed again. Too often, we want to do miracles with other people's sacrifice. People come to me and say, well, I've got a really great idea for a ministry. If you give me $100,000, I'll do it. Happens all the time. I say, so tell me what you're doing now. Well, I'm not doing anything yet. But if you give me the money, then I'll do something. They're doing nothing what they have. They've given nothing. They've made no sacrifice. They're ready to do ministry and meet needs, but they are not personally willing to sacrifice to see it happen. It's the person that always wants to come tell us what's missing in the church, but never wants to be a part of making it happen. This time, the disciples were ready. Their sacrifice would be the seed for a miracle. They gave the bread to Jesus, and he told the crowd to sit down on the ground. And when he'd taken the 7 loaves and given thanks, he broke them. And he gave them to his disciples to set before the people. And they did so. They had a few small fish as well. They saw what Jesus did with the little boy's lunch. And they brought almost exactly the same thing. He gave thanks for them also and told the disciples to distribute them. The people ate and were satisfied. Afterward, the disciples picked up 7 basketfuls of broken pieces that were left over. About 4,000 men were present, with women and children. There were probably 10,000 people there that day, fed with one simple lunch. The disciples prepared for the miracle. They sacrificed what they had, and they saw Jesus use it in an incredible way. Here's the lesson from the 2 picnic lunches. Jesus can do a lot with a little. He can do a whole lot. And you say, well, I don't have much to give. Say, Lord, here it is. Well, I don't have a lot of talent. Lord, here's what I do have. It's opening our hands and opening our hearts and saying, Lord, what I have, I give to you. And I want to see you use it. Some of you have been sitting on the bench way too long. You need to get in the game. You come, you sit, receive, and leave. And it's time to say, all right, here's what I can do. Do you see a way the Lord can use this? I promise you, we will find a way. And the Lord will use you, and it will be multiplied in incredible ways. All Jesus asked for is a willingness to give what we have. Your sacrifice in his hands equals a miracle.